This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have another good neighbor on, Christy Toms of HB Fitness Studios. Christy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation, especially another fitness enthusiast. People that watch this show know that that is a huge part of my life, so I can't wait to learn what I imagine I'm going to learn from you. But let's start at the top. What is HB Fitness Studios? What is it that you do, Christy?
So we are a female-inspired studio, and we're all about empowering women. We call it HB Fitness Studios because we actually have two sides to our facility. So we are a private facility. So one side of the facility is a full gym where we do personal training and group training, and the other side is set up for our classes, which are 45-minute HIIT or weight training classes, depending on the day. But everything is appointment-based. So either you're booked in for a class or booked in for personal training.
Okay, so no walk-ins, traditional gym memberships.
No, yes, exactly. Like there is memberships, but your memberships are for like unlimited classes if you're doing that.
Similar to like a yoga studio when it comes to the membership.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. And then you can get one-on-one training on top of that.
Absolutely, yes. And then if you are a member for classes, there's discounts for personal training, or you can just come into personal train. We do the best of both worlds.
Beautiful. I love it. So there's a few, I say this pretty much every time, like a broken record, but I think there's a need for it. So all the questions have their purpose, but some of them have a little bit more meaning than others. And this next question about the story, the journey behind it, I'm so curious about, because I always love to know what was the catalyst? What was that one experience, if there was one, or a grouping of experiences over time that led you to saying at least two things? Fitness is going to be my thing, to the point where I'm going to offer products and services, and I'm going to open my own business, because those are two very different things. Fitness was the avenue through which you chose to impact the audience, your people. You're also running your own business, which is not easy. I have a great deal of respect for other entrepreneurs out there. They put their hat in the ring for a very difficult thing. So what brought you to fitness is going to be my thing, so much so that I'm going to open my own business?
Yeah, definitely. It was a buildup over the years. Like I always played competitive sports when I was a teen. So I was really into softball, and it was all women's softball. So I played women's sports. So women, like being physical and like women playing sports was just really cool for me, really huge. And softball actually used to be in the Olympics at the time. So it was really neat. And we used to have to do like boot camp style workouts to condition ourselves for softball. So I've just always been into fitness and sports. And then as time went on, I actually moved to Barrie to go to Georgian College for advertising. And I always worked out on the side. Like I loved working out. Obviously my baseball years were over at that point. But then after advertising, I did my bachelor's in communications. And during that time, I'm like, you know what? I really want to start like a women's boot camp outside. Like it'd just be really fun to get all the girls together in the morning on the beach in Barrie and just work out and have some laughs and just whatever it turns into, right? I honestly wasn't planning on that being my future. It was just something I was really passionate about. I thought it'd be a fun little business on the side of university. I started that and it like took off really quickly. And obviously my background in advertising helped with promoting it. And then the winter months, the girls would be like, can you rent like an indoor spot so we can do boot camps in the winter? And I was like, sure. So I like rented other studios, churches, rec rooms, whatever I could find. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I feel like I need to open my own spot. And that's literally how it kind of happened. I love the atmosphere of having all the women together. They felt really empowered and they felt comfortable with me. And I just had so much fun doing it. I opened up my first location 10 years ago. So we just had our 10-year anniversary. So of opening the doors. Yes. So I started the boot camp about 12 years ago. 10 years ago, I opened a spot in Cedar Point. It was very small. And it honestly, I'm going to say it was hard. You know, some classes, because I had to run a full schedule now, some classes would have 2 people. You know, it's not like all of a sudden my classes were full. It took a long time and I was working another job at the time to have money for that studio. Anyways, fast forward, year and a half later, I expanded to King Street. and I've expanded twice since then. And we just kind of kept growing. I kind of grew every year just a bit, if that makes sense. But I've just always loved it. I've had a passion for helping people, and the lives we've changed over the years has just been amazing, you know? Yeah.
Well, I'll say a couple of things. First off, I love this organic, almost, yeah, organic seems to be the right word, or natural progression of where you were from school to this would be fun to now it's really fun. Now I'm really impacting people to the point where they're asking me for more, which is a great way to decide whether this works or not. If people are asking you for more of it, that's always a good sign. To then starting in a small place and growing year over year. And since we are in the business of helping businesses scale, even if you're growing by a little bit each year, you're doing things that unfortunately most businesses are not doing, which is tragic. And then on top of that, 10 years, you are in like the 90th percentile of small and medium businesses to last that long. So you're doing something good over there, Christy. Kudos to you.
It was a proud moment. We just had our celebration for 10 years, and it was just like, where did the time go, you know? But it was very cool milestone for sure.
Yeah. And, you know, I like asking that question, where did the time go? That always seems to be like a symptom of enjoying your existence, right? It goes by very quickly when things are going well and you feel like you're doing some good. It's when things suck that time seems to go by very, very slowly.
And that happens in the last 10 years as well.
Sure.
It's not all up here.
No, but it looks like it's been a good 10 years for you guys. I love that story. Myths or misconceptions, one of the big parts of the show, and with our clients and prospective clients, anybody we're trying to help, we try to really promote quality education, because if you can learn something new, that can really change a life. I mean, if I have suboptimal information in my head about this thing, like fitness leads to injuries, as long as I've been a personal trainer, that is one of the common things. Or I'm unique, I can't lose weight in the traditional way by, you know, assessing my calories, my inputs, my outputs. So there's myths out there. And if that's in my head, then that could stop me from moving towards something like fitness, because I have a fear or there's uncertainty there. If we could help clarify some of these myths and misconceptions, provide good information from them, maybe just one person gets that information and then decides to take the plunge and go towards fitness and change their life, that would seem very much worth it to me. So are there any common myths, misconceptions out there about what you do that you could clarify for us?
Definitely, I can think of two. One is that, you know, a lot of women will be like, oh, well, I want to come to your studio, to your business, but I need to get in shape first to come get in shape. And I'm like, that is definitely a misconception, because with, I think, most places, but especially with ours, you can be any fitness level, because we will like modify to where you're at. So if you could be super fit, and there's ways that we can help you with that, like, it just depends on what level you're at, but anyone can come. So if you're going to wait until you get fit to come get fit, well, it's probably never going to happen. You need to actually walk through those doors, and we will help you with where you're at. And I think that's a huge myth. Oh, I would love to come, but I need to lose a few pounds first. It's like, well, you need to come and we will help you lose a few pounds. I think another one is people thinking that a 45-minute workout can't be effective. Like, our classes are all 45 minutes. They're like, oh, well, don't you have to work out for like 2 to 3 hours to like be effective? No, like, you could work your butt off for 45 minutes and have way more of an effective workout. You can still gain strength, gain muscle, gain endurance in that 45 minutes, where some people could go to the gym for 2 hours and, you know, walk on the treadmill, play on their phone, you know, do not much in that 2 hours, where that 45 minutes can actually be more effective. So those are two like main misconceptions that I find that we hear a lot. The ones that you said too, though, hear those as well.
I'm really glad. And I'm really glad you put those out there for us. And I mean, I could say from my own point of view, even though I haven't used your facilities before, you go to the gym to get in shape. That's what you do. You don't become a doctor first before you go train to be a doctor, or become a pianist first before you go train to be a pianist. So you're starting at the fitness level, or at the fitness studio. And then what was the second point? 45-minute workouts. I mean, back when I was a younger man in my 20s, we worked hard, but there was a lot of wasted time. And a lot of it we gauged by the amount of time we were in the gym. Like, it was an ego thing, just like ego lifting. But now in my later years, yeah, I mean, from 45 to 70 minutes of doing it, taking minimal rest periods and really optimizing your workout, that I'm done.
Yeah.
I am done.
Yeah. And like, as we get older, especially, like, we don't have time to, stay in the gym for 3 hours a day. Like, some people have a hard time getting that 45 minutes. So that's why we like to make it like it's go, go, go for 45. We still have our little rest periods and stuff, but like, it's an effective 45 minutes, but you're like, we don't have time for that, especially if you have a family, or, some people work 2 jobs now. So 45 minutes is great. That diet needs to be on point though.
Definitely. So, and do you guys talk about nutrition in there?
We do. So we do a lot of like one-on-one meetings with people about their nutrition. We do a lot with like flexible dieting and macronutrients and stuff, and helping people learn how to track their food and track their nutrition and still be able to be flexible with their food. Like, if you have pizza night, you can still have pizza night. We just try to help people with ways to make it into a sustainable lifestyle, rather than like eat chicken, fish, and vegetables and maybe a bit of rice for like the next 8 weeks. It's like, it's just not a lifestyle for a lot of people.
Yeah. And again, such a valid point. If you're going to be a competitive anything like bodybuilder or, bikini class, anything like that, where your body needs to be completely optimized, you may need to go that more strict route. But that is like less than 1% of the population. I imagine there's a few decimal points before that one, actually. So for me, really, fitness isn't something to be won. It's not like there's a summit of the mountain. It's something to stay in for as long as I can. So the more sustainable, the more the less interference there is with my fitness into my day-to-day life. Like, when I was meal prepping, it would take multiple hours a week, big pain in the butt. But I needed to go through that to learn the next thing to make it more sustainable for me. So I love that you guys really cater to, what does this person need? What kind of systems can we put together to give them that amazing feeling you have when you are in shape, and not make it a burden on your life that you have to pay attention to your fitness all day, every day to get your results.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like and each person is so different. That's why when people have this like one plan for a bunch of people, like, it doesn't work that way. Like, everyone's different. I train for shows myself, and another niche of mine on the side with this business is I train competitors for fitness shows. So obviously I do have that strict side, but it's for like a sport, right? It's kind of different. Like, that type of lifestyle does not work for the regular person that's not training for a sport, right?
Yeah.
So there's 7 of us that work at the studio. So, we all kind of have that mindset. I've trained them on the same thing. So we're all on the same kind of page with everything, which makes it really like unified, right, with all of our staff.
Yeah. Yeah. Spreading the same message across the board. I love it. Let's get into you a little bit, Christy, outside of the business. So I ask all the entrepreneurs that come on the show, what do they do for fun? Many of them answer, I love my business, takes up my whole life. And I say this every time. I'm very happy that so many, doing over 200 shows now, so many of them say they like what they do. That's a fantastic thing. Not everybody out there likes what they do, but there is more to life than just business. So outside of your business, what puts a smile on your face? What do you get up to for fun?
Well, now I have 2 kids. So I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. So basically all my fun is whatever is fun for them now. It's their turn to have fun. So, but I do compete in fitness shows. Sometimes it's usually every couple of years. So that's usually a lot of training. But now with the 2 kids, I don't know if I'll compete for a little while, but we love boating. We have a boat downtown in the Barrie Marina, and we love to go out on Kempenfeld and Lake Simcoe, and that's something fun that I love boating. So that's my favorite thing. But really, just spending time with the family is what's fun for me now.
Yeah, and I imagine just time with the family can be very fun. What classes do you compete in?
So I just actually did Worlds this past fall. So that was 2023 in November. So I do UFE, which is a natural fitness organization. So they do all like drug testing and everything. It's all natural fitness. I compete in fitness and wellness and glamour. I have my pro card in 4 different categories. Yeah. So I just got my pro card in wellness this fall. So that was my 4th pro card. And yeah, so I might take a little time off now. Yeah.
4 pro cards. Wow. I'm talking
Yeah.
to a pro here.
I've
That's
been competing for almost 10 years since I opened my first studio. So it's been quite a few years of kind of building up. And now I train a lot of other competitors for shows now, which is fun. I love doing that too. And yeah.
so now that you've done it so many times, you've transformed your body so many times. When you're going through that cutting phase, is it any easier now than it was before?
No. I actually honestly find it more challenging because when I first started competing, I was a lot younger. How old am I? I'm going to be 37 this year. So, I was mid 20s or whatever when I started competing. I found it a lot easier to cut. You still know the process. You can still do it. It's not impossible. I find it more challenging. Plus with a family and stuff, like sometimes you don't have all the time to train like back in the day when you could spend 3 hours training. Now it's like I had to do it in like an hour and a half to 2 hours max. So I had to make sure my nutrition was perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I find it more challenging.
And is one of your goals for these classes, because I don't know fitness, I know better than wellness, and I don't know glamour that well at all, but is developing more size for fitness a priority? Like is your goal each year to pack on a bit more muscle?
Yeah, and it is hard to pack on a lot of muscle over the years.
Sure.
So it's taken me years of bodybuilding, but every year I like if I can put on a couple more pounds of muscle, that would be great. Wellness is more like you have more muscular legs. Like you're still muscular all over, but your legs are a little bit like more muscular, more. So that would be probably a goal because I do like the wellness category and my body type kind of suits it. So my goal maybe for next time would just be to build some more mass, especially in my legs.
And how do you find it at 37 now, packing on muscle? Some people, I ask this question, like I spent a lot of time in the fitness world, I'll get a lot of responses that packing on muscle during that decade of our 30s can be quite fruitful. I've seen a lot of, the pros that I talk to typically, although there's not a lot of them, but a lot of the guys that I talk to that are bodybuilding are not natural. So there's that. But it seems like that decade during your 30s, especially if you train prior to your 30s, is a good building muscle decade. A little bit harder to cut, it seems. What have you found?
Yeah, I do find that. I do find a lot of I train mostly like women. A lot of them definitely have, if they've been working out since their 20s, definitely have a lot more muscle mass and they're more defined. Maybe it's just from the years of training, or are they able to build a little bit more muscle in their 30s? I'm not really sure, but I definitely find on stage, like the younger girls definitely, like they look great, but they look a lot softer. Like I do find by the time you hit your 30s, it's easier to be, but yes, cutting can be more of a challenge. But I don't know if that's a sedentary lifestyle. Like a lot of us sit at computers all day and back in your 20s, you were like working more probably physical job or like on the go more and always doing stuff. So I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if it's age or just like our lifestyles completely change.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables to it for sure. I certainly find it harder in my older years because I'm around the same age as you to cut. So I don't like to, in the traditional sense, really build up and then cut down like this 30-pound fluctuation over a year's time. So I kind of, whether they call it main gaining or whatever it is, just slowly gaining and staying lean. My days of competing are long gone. But you never know. You never know. Maybe I'll get into the masters or something in my 40s. Yeah. But no, I appreciate that. And I find that very interesting. And kudos to you for still doing it. I mean, dang.
Yeah.
More pro cards. That's amazing. That is amazing.
Thank you.
So a little bit more about life and a little bit more about you is we talk about doing hard things on the show. I think that philosophy has become more known over this last decade, embracing doing harder things to find out what we're capable of, because I really don't see too many limits to being a human. I think we're pretty much limitless. It seems. So we ask about the trials and tribulations that our entrepreneurs go through on the show for a number of reasons. But one of them, I think most important, is to the correlation between doing a hard thing and growing significantly. That seems to be something that can happen often if you choose to make it happen, rather than making going through that hard thing a burden on your life, adding it to the bag that's, strapped to your feet. That's just adding more weight and more stress to your life. I don't think we talk about it quite as much. And certainly if you go on social media, you'll find a polished up version of reality in many cases, all the perfect things about our life, all the pleasurable things about our life, not really as much of the darker side or the challenging side. So we want to be a part of that trend to get people to embrace that more challenging side of life, simply because A, it's part of reality. You're going to have it happen to you. B, you can at least build a resilience to the challenges coming your way, as life will be challenging at every stage. But more so, if we can help change that mindset to, okay, I have to do this, so I'll do it, to I want to move into challenge because I know the potential positive results that can come from it if I embrace that lifestyle. So that's one of the reasons we asked this question. And the question really is, are there any challenges, trials, tribulations that you've been through that you're willing to share with us that probably sucked in the moment, as challenges do have that symptom physically, anxiety, sweating, stress, whatever it is, probably sucked in the moment. But when you look back in hindsight, you would not remove that ingredient from the recipe that is you, because it's led you to living the life that you enjoy today.
Yeah, absolutely. As a business owner, I do find your emotions can run along with your business, how it's doing, how it's not doing. There's been times over the last 10 years that I've been depressed, where if the business isn't going the way that I thought it was, and why am I even doing this? Like, everyone's felt it. But I think just saying, like, there is a reason I'm doing this, because I'm changing so many people's lives. And sometimes during those times, I get like this one great message from a client where they're like, I would not be here without you. Like, I don't know what my life would be like if I didn't have you, or HB, or whatever. Sorry, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. But it's like, those are the times where I'm like, okay, Christy, yes, you're going through a hard time, but like, look what you're doing. Like, look how you're changing people's lives. Like, all you need to do is keep going, one foot in front of the other during those times. And then all of a sudden things are way up here and you're like doing great. And it's just getting through those hard times. And I think that's where a lot of businesses fail, is they just give up, because it does get so daunting and stressful. And my first year of business, of having the studio, I bartended for the first year and a half. So I would work all night till about 3 a.m. I'd sleep for 2 hours. I'd get up and go into the studio for 6 a.m. class. I'd run classes all morning because I couldn't afford to hire staff at the time. And then I'd have a nap in the afternoon, and I'd do it all over again. And I did that 5 days a week. And then the other days I'd still work at the studio and on my business. And it sucks. Sometimes I'm like, how I can't do this. Like, I'm not making any money at the gym, but I had just opened. So I just kept going. And then things just kind of come together, as long as you keep that passion and the love of what you're doing. Like, you'll persevere and you'll get through it. And then the other most recent hard time was obviously COVID. COVID hit. So the last 4 years have been probably the hardest time of my life. And the fact that I still hit my 10-year anniversary, I was pretty happy about that. I know a lot of businesses were affected, but COVID obviously demolished the fitness industry there for a while. So I found, I guess one thing that COVID taught me, though, is that you don't always have control over your own business, and there are things that can happen. And I think the most important thing is learning to adapt to trends or worldly things that are happening. Like, I went completely virtual the first week of the first lockdown. I already had it planned because I thought it was going to happen. And I had everything ready to do online programs. And I just did completely 360 my business into something completely different. And I think that's how you move forward in things like that, right? Is just adapting to what is happening.
Yeah, I mean, preparation is, it's a key character trait of the best business leaders out there. Preparing and preparing and preparing and preparing for what could come. And if it doesn't, you probably learn some things on the way through your preparation. And if it does come, now preparing for a pandemic, they'll often say the past is a good indicator of the future. I think it's an okay indicator, but, there's many things that we haven't seen quite yet, like a pandemic. But again, kudos to you for being so on the pulse when it comes to that and changing your business to keep catering to your clients And then, what were you saying at the beginning? The bartending and then running your classes during the day. Like, when somebody hears that, when I hear that, it's like, man, that kind of sucks. There's one part of my brain that says that. The other part of my brain says, when you have that much skin in the game, it just seems to be a prerequisite for building something great. Every freaking story that we have on here, all the books that I'm into, the people that I follow, none of them made their business easily. And if they did, I probably haven't heard of it. It's the ones that really clawed and scrape to make this thing happen. When you said, as long as you love it, if you have a passion for it, you'll find out these things about yourself that you never knew, because you never were put in such a challenging position to want something so bad. Business is hard. This game that we play is difficult. And the most successful people around me, certainly helping guide me through my challenges, have worked their butt off and sacrificed a ton to build something great. As long as that purpose exceeded the pain that they felt during that challenge, they continued on. So I love that your story lines up with that. And anybody listening to this, that maybe there's some entrepreneurs that aren't listening to this, or sorry, maybe there's some non-entrepreneurs listening to this that thought they wanted to start a business. Know what you're getting into, know how great it can be. Most entrepreneurs I speak to will not go back to being an employee. I imagine you wouldn't either. But when we think I'll make more money, I'll get more freedom, I'll get more time back, I'll get more flexibility, maybe it may take you 10 plus years to get there. Know what the beginning is. No time, all sacrifice, little payoff, a lot of pain. But it just seems like when you have so much invested into something, to creating something beautiful, it seems to be a necessary ingredient. If someone just handed you that business, said, here, go ahead, I don't know that it would work out the same. And I imagine your next 10 years will be that much more successful than your first, because you've done all of these things already.
Yeah, I hope so. We've definitely bounced back a lot. I rebranded. I actually used to be Hot Bod Fitness. And then I just felt like a huge disconnect from our name. I started it 10 years ago. So, and I know we kind of kept it similar with the HB Fitness Studios, but our slogan is healthy body, healthy life. We just wanted, I loved my name when I first started, but I just felt a huge disconnect with what we were trying to do at the business and our branding, it's not about having a hot bod. If you get one and you want one, great. But it's about building a sustainable lifestyle of always being active for your health as we age and getting stronger, lifting weights. And that that's why I rebranded, which has been really great. Another hardship I've gone through and in the last couple of years is both of my parents passed away. And that's been very challenging for me as a business owner, because there's some days where I feel like I can't do anything. My mom was my best friend and she just passed away 5 months ago. And my dad passed away 2 years ago. And it was sudden. And it's, I think as a business owner, it's you don't ever just get to take time off. You still have to work. And no matter what in life, we're all going to go through really hard things as business owners. And I think that, if you just give yourself grace sometimes and go, you know what, today's not a day for me. I'll try to do a couple things and just be okay with that. Because that was probably the most traumatic thing. It was COVID. My dad died. My mom died. And, then I celebrated my 10-year anniversary. I'm this is weird. My parents aren't here, So, that's another thing. It's just been a really weird few years for me, but I'm still here and I'm, I have great staff helping me. And I feel I think that's a good builder, is having people to help you so that when you do go through something, you have them to step in and help you when you need it.
Appreciate you sharing that with us. I can only imagine how difficult that is. My dad is my guy. Love my mom to death. She's probably going to watch this. So hi, Mom. Love you. You know that. But, dad is my role model and they're still around. I'm very, very, very grateful for that. Actually, I have many rules that they've helped me create over the years inked into my skin, plus some of my own. So, a huge influence on my life. I can only imagine how difficult that is. But it just goes to show that entrepreneurs, even the most successful ones, sometimes we put these people on pedestals, athletes, greats at anything. And we forget that they're human and go through normal human shit like death, like pandemics, like failed businesses, stresses, depression, whatever it is. That's one of the points to all of this, is that, you know, one of the things that you give women is this empowerment, whether it's a buzzword or not these days, that is the result of it. And it can really change a life. That impact, that purpose can drive, at least I'll speak for myself. Certainly what I do with my clients, what I do with my team, we have a pretty large team, drives me through these challenges. As long as I feel like I'm having an impact, like my inputs to the world are positive, it helps you. It fuels you like nothing else from my perspective to get through those hard things. So I really appreciate you sharing those stories with us. Super real. And I'm sorry you went through that.
No, that's okay. And you know what? One thing I noticed when this happened, and obviously it's a horrible thing, but like literally so many clients left me like gift cards and flowers, and they all just like messaged me. And like I kind of was away from the studio for a few months because I just couldn't, you know, face people. But like people cared because they know that I care about them, you know? And then the time comes around when, you know, they care about me too. And it's like just having that, that's what we're like about there, is having like a community and somewhere that people feel welcome, and they build friendships, like healthy friendships, people that work out and eat well. Like that's great friendships to have. And I think that's one thing that I love about our studio. And we've always been like that. We're very welcoming, and we want people to feel empowered and feel strong and do things that they thought they could never do. You know, especially women sometimes feel like, oh, well, I don't know, I don't want to. Here's another misconception. I don't want to lift too heavy because I don't want to get bulky. I'm like, I've been trying to get bulky for 10 years.
That's the same thing that I say. When I train women, I still do training on the weekend. And I'm like, you think bulking is easy? I've been at this for 20 years. Yeah. Muscle grows slower than anything. You think I just snapped my fingers and got to this size? This has been ages. So don't worry about bulky.
I know. And you know what? And this is where I kind of look at like fitness influencers that aren't natural. And like, I don't, honestly, I'm not judging anyone, do whatever you want, but it's like,
not realistic.
It's not realistic. And they will say they're natural, but you like, no, they're not. So someone who knows nothing about fitness, nothing about, they just think like, oh my God, if I like do barbell squats and barbell curls, I'm going to look like that. And it's like, no, no, you're not.
Nope.
So you have to explain that a lot. It actually happens quite often. And, but then once women realize like, yeah, you're not going to get bulky, like they love lifting weights, and it's so good for your long-term health to have, you know, to be strong. And like, you know, one day when you're a grandparent, you want to be able to pick up your grandkids. And, you know, that's kind of what I look at now. I know it's a long ways away, but, you know, staying consistent and healthy over those years are going to make a difference in my, you know, elderly life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like a monumental difference. We're getting more and more of these 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds that are pulling 400-pound deadlifts, that are riding their road bike for 6 hours. Yes. And just incredible shape. Some of them are lean and have abs. Like over this next 30 years, I can only imagine how many people are going to surpass that 100-year mark in shape. It's not just about passing that mark, but still healthy. They look like a traditional 70-year-old. And for me, certainly at this age, yeah, I want to pack on a bit more size. I want to keep myself interested in the gym physically, but much higher priority is what it does for the mind.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I don't think gets talked about as much. It's like, yeah, it's great to have muscle on you. It's great to have strong joints and be strong and be active. But I think what it does to the brain far and away exceeds what it does for my physical. Like your confidence, your self-esteem, your friendliness, your mood, your hormone balance, just hormones alone. I've lived with out of balance hormones. I know women have their situation with hormones as well. So I've experienced my own version of it, and it was shit. It was everything sucked when my testosterone and all that was way out of balance compared to estrogen and whatnot. So just that alone, eating right, sleeping somewhat optimally, and fitness, just having your hormones in balance, having your mood, feeling good. It's a fantastic thing. I love that you guys are out there doing that and spreading that information, not just training people, but letting them know the impact of their efforts. Because I think it's, honestly, I can't think of anything more important personally, me, Christy, than movement, nutrition, and sleep is the foundation. Everything is built on top of that for me personally.
I completely agree. And I think the worst part was during COVID when we kept going into lockdowns. Like some of the girls, like on their last class, because it'd be like the lockdown would be the next day, so they'd come and do a class, and they'd be like crying. They're like, "I need this. I need it." It wasn't about like them getting into shape, even like physically. It was all about this. Like they couldn't stand just being at home and not being with a community of people. And like I think I realized it the most at that point. And that's where I kind of started thinking about like the rebranding and stuff. I'm like, we're really about like empowerment and community and so much more. And yet that's just where I felt the disconnect. But like they need to go somewhere. Like some people can't work out by themselves. Some people can, but some people like mentally just need that community of people and that push and the atmosphere of being like, yeah, let's go. 45 minutes, you don't pick up your phone, right? Like,
oh yeah, it's meditative. I mean, for me, there's many practices that I have in my life that I don't even know if I can still the mind now that I've been doing this for so long. I don't know if that's the goal anymore, but be present. Awareness is a big part for me to, not attach myself to every thought that comes because I'm in a chaotic place. So working out on the weights personally for me, especially when it's painful, you want to not be in your thoughts all day, every day. Go do something painful in the gym. As soon as that pain kicks in, you are now physically present. You are not thinking about thoughts anymore. You're just dealing with that
like,
pain.
I need to get through this. And that, I think yoga is honestly super beneficial. For me, I can't do it because I go there and I spend an hour like in my head. I know it takes practice though. I know that. I find with my time restriction, and even though I own a gym, I just feel like I only have like an hour and a bit a day. So like weight training and stuff like keeps my mind occupied. I guess that's why everyone likes different stuff. But do you do yoga?
You know what? When I was competing, so I'm 37 now, I was competing in my early and stopped in mid 20s. So it was suggested to me back then that to pair yoga with the amount of weight we were lifting and size we were packing on. So that was the information given to us back then. I no longer believe that. I think if you work out optimally, personally, I believe that you don't need to do some type of stretching practice in conjunction with it. So I did it back then, hot yoga. We talked about the benefits of heat to repair muscle and recovery. I don't know that that's a thing anymore either. So I did do it. I do not do it anymore. For me, it's 5-6 sessions a week, 60 to 90 minutes is the most. There's my 7 hours in the gym a week. I walk every morning and that's it. No joint pain, no nothing. I lift way lighter than I used to when I was younger, much slower, and it burns like a bitch. And I don't, I'm able to live my life like that rather than being unable to walk for 4 days after a hard leg day and my knees hurting.
You don't need to like lift super heavy. Like, so I hurt my back really bad in 2019. It wasn't like an acute injury, so I don't know what exactly did it, but it was probably like deadlifting. And I had bad back problems for a year. By the way, if you have back problems, one book I recommend is The Back Mechanic. The guy actually lives up in the Muskokas, but it's like a very well-known book. Lane Norton, if you know him, he told me about the book. He's like, get this book. So I fixed the book. Like I read the book and fixed my own back in like a few months. And I had been to every specialist there was. So anyways, if you have back problems, it's a great book. But ever since I hurt my back then, like I won't do extremely heavy deadlifts. I would rather do a little bit lighter and maybe some more reps. I just don't want to risk hurting my back again because that was an awful year. So it's to each their own, but you don't have to lift like extremely heavy to get the results or benefits of that lift. It's better than like, you don't want to injure yourself for a year over trying to do something you shouldn't.
Yeah. And I mean, it's what's the goal? Like, are you doing 3 reps because you're going into a powerlifting contest or a strength contest, or are you trying to build muscle? I look at it like anywhere between 5 and 30 reps. If you do them correctly, you're probably going to build muscle optimally. And the higher I go towards that rep range, just the easier it is on my joints.
Yeah. Exactly. And you know your own body too, right? Like you know it best.
That's that's something I didn't bring up that I'm glad you brought up. That's one of the things the gym gives you more than anything else is we were born with, I imagine, a drop of body awareness, but through athleticism, through sports, through taking your body and muscle and firing specific muscles, activating other things, isolating certain things, you build up this body awareness that has so many benefits to it that is also often not talked about. So just a litany of cascading benefits just by going into the gym. If that's the only reason you go there, I just want to lift or I just want to be in shape. Over time, you will have 2 pages full of benefits. And I bet you'd be hard pressed to find some negatives. Something I am curious about. Do you know Lane Norton?
I've talked to him on Instagram. I follow him, but I had talked to him on Instagram because he had like a really bad back injury, but he like had bulging discs all the way from his neck to like his lower back. So it took him like 15 minutes to get from the floor to standing. So I had talked, I don't know him personally, but we had talked in Messenger, and I was asking him about like how he fixed his back and stuff. And he was like, honestly, this book like helped me. Like he's like, this is why my back's better. And now he's doing powerlifting competitions again and everything. So I got this book, and I had been to every specialist. I just did exactly what the book said for 3 months solid. And then obviously you still have to continue upkeep, but it like was life changing. So I refer that book to like everyone now. So thank God he told me about that. But it's funny, the guy that wrote it actually lives in the Muskokas, but Lane's from the States. So it's just kind of funny how that worked, you know?
I guess the cream rises to the top. A great recommendation for anybody out there looking for back fixing the back mechanic. Lane is also a fantastic educator.
Oh,
He
so good.
puts out really good, solid information that's science backed as much as it can be. And then his own anecdotal evidence through training for as many years as he has, combined with his PhD. He's a hell of a guy. So I appreciate the information and the shared stories. Absolutely. Getting back into your business a little bit, we've talked about many things, and so many of them have been extremely valuable for the person who has not taken that step towards fitness yet, has not come into HB Fitness Studios, maybe someone that has been there, that hasn't been there in a while. Maybe there's people that were there before COVID and haven't come back. To the people that are paused right now and aren't taking that step towards fitness, if you could distill down all the information that you have in your head and all that you've been through into 1 or 2 main takeaways that you would want the audience to know about HB Fitness Studios, what would it be?
I think just kind of going back to like feeling your best and having that like empowerment in a place you feel comfortable working out. Like if you're not coming because you're not sure if you're going to feel comfortable or you're scared to walk through the doors, like I can guarantee that as soon as you do your first workout, is it going to be tough? Sure. But you're going to feel good and you're going to love it. And our trainers and our staff there are going to help you with wherever you're at. Even if you have an injury, we can modify around that. And I think just coming in and just stepping out of your comfort zone is key, and you're going to love it. Like that, there's not much else to say. I know that once they come back or come there for the first time, like we never get bad words. Like people say like, I'm really, really sore, but people just love it there. And I just think just walking in those doors is just the first step, and we're going to take care of the rest for you.
I love it. Now, this question isn't on the questionnaire because sometimes people script their answers, although you clearly have not scripted any of yours, and I greatly appreciate that. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
I talk about
not to read them too much because I just like to go off the fly.
That's what we want. I mean, if you and I were just having a conversation at a coffee shop, there would be no scripting. You just let your curiosity drive you, and whatever comes to mind in the moment. I mean, that's how us humans communicate most of the times. But this question, I only talk about a handful of things on the show, Christy, and it's because I only study or am interested in a handful of things deeply out in my life. And this show is an extension of my life in a way. So I talk about entrepreneurship. I think there's so much value to be talked about there. Talk about mentorship, huge. I love the quote, behind every excellent person, there's an excellent teacher. Talk about impact and purpose. That's where this question is going. And so when I was in my early 20s, kind of floating around, not really living a life that was quite aligned with me, certainly wasn't satisfied with it, I was very lucky to bump up against a mentor who's still in my life today. And she's taught me many things about business, but about life as well. And in this regard, one of these things that she taught me about impact has stayed with me forever and is a bunch of the main things that are on my arm to stay with me. That's how seriously I take it. She was the one to first say to me, like, what do you want your impact to be? You were born, you were stamped with an end date. So you have a start and you have a finish. What is the in-between going to result in? Have you ever thought of that? I was 21 when I met her. I'm like, no, I haven't thought of that. She's like, well, maybe start being intentional about your impact. What do you want it to be? Be intentional about the day, just the single day, because you may not be here tomorrow. She was the first one to teach me that the time given to me is completely out of my control, almost entirely. What I do with the time that's given to me, I have some more control out of that. But waking up tomorrow is pretty much out of my hands to a large portion. So she taught me to be very intentional about the day, to get it done. If you can get it done, if you want to do it now. And then for however long I am here, what do you want that net impact to be? So we like to ask the guests on the show, Christy, what would you like your impact to be?
I guess my main impact would obviously be bettering women's health, but also like their confidence. So if I died tomorrow, I hope that people would be at my celebration of life and they were like, you know what, I wouldn't have this confidence like walking around, and maybe I wouldn't have got that job or whatever if it wasn't for Christy or Christy's studio, because there I learned to not only get into better shape and feel stronger, which then in return helped my confidence, but the way everyone made me feel there boosted me up so much that I could have a better life for myself. So even if I'm gone, I hope that people say they have a better life and a more confident life and have gotten things out of their life because of what we have done for them at our studio, in all different ways, because I feel like confidence in anything is so key. It doesn't matter if it's going to the gym or getting a job or having a conversation with someone. You need to have that confidence, that posture, anyways, that's I guess just changing people's lives and hoping I made just a really great impact on their health and their confidence. I think it would be what I would want. That would be my impact.
That's a hell of an impact. It certainly is. I love it. What's the best way for people to find out about you, Christy?
If they go to ww.hbfitness.ca, basically everything's on the website there. Our personal I actually don't hide pricing. I'm just more of I just have it out there. So if you're looking for class pricing or personal training pricing, hbfitness.ca, it's all on there. Also, one of our niches is training people for shows, which is also really cool in a different way. Not everyone wants to do that, but the confidence some of these girls have had from going from 80 to 100 pounds overweight to then walking on stage and getting a medal at a fitness show is some of them just say I never thought that would be me, and that is me, and they feel like a just completely different person. You don't have to compete for that, but that is a niche. I love training people for shows, so that's something I really enjoy. I actually run a fitness show in Barrie. I just hosted it in April at Georgian College, so I will be running that again next April 2025. So if anyone's interested in competing, that is listed on the website as well.
I love it. Christy, what a blast it's been. You've taught me a lot, and you just really, for me, because not everybody that's listening to this is at the fitness level that you or I are. We're all at different levels, but it's really nice meeting someone who's taken whatever skill set and become successful with it. If you too are doing that same thing. And I say that because there's so much uncertainty in life, really. I just find it's, one obstacle after another, one new experience of uncertainty after another. We don't know. I look at myself as a fumbling human being trying to figure it out with the best people that I can surround myself with. But when someone else has clearly made a success of it and you too have chosen that same path, it reinforces, it gives you more conviction into the thing that you've done. And fitness, certainly the foundation of my life, but to meet so many people and say similar words that you're saying now, it goes so far beyond the physical appearance. It's community, it's quality of life, it's education, it's how you feel about yourself, your inside, your brain, et cetera, et cetera. So helping spread that information is very important to me, and helping shine the light on businesses like yours also very important. So very happy to have you on the show, Christy. It's been a blast.
And I really appreciate you doing a podcast like this, because it's really great for local businesses to come on and talk about their businesses and have a conversation. And I think it's really cool that you're doing that.
I appreciate it. And I look forward to many more conversations. Until then, you enjoy the rest of the day.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com or call 705-413-3775.